How many times have you been on the way to a competition and just say, if we only had one more practice? Making the most of our practice time is crucial to the success of our teams. It doesn't matter if you're a rec coach, middle school, high school, all-star, or college coach. We always feel that we never have enough time to get our work in. In this video, I want to help you with that stress and that anxiety so that you can feel confident in the amount of work that you were able to put in practice and that you made the most of that time so both you and your team can feel more confident with their performance. This is something that I learned later on in my coaching career, so I hope this can serve you. First, prepare the plan. Take time to write out your practice schedule for the day. When you go into each practice with a plan, you will save time trying to come up with what to do next. Write out how much time you want to spend on each block, starting with stretching and warming up, and then go all the way down to finish it with conditioning. This will guide you throughout your practice and will increase your effectiveness in time management. Next, if you have an assistant coach, once you write out your schedule, share it with them. See if they want to make any revisions, but don't allow them to just always say, you know what, it looks good, and never give their input. They need to have the freedom to make revisions and have their voice heard and applied. My wife and I do this all the time with our monthly budgets. I'll go through and I'll set our budget from my perspective. Then I'll give it to her to make her revisions based on hers. What that does is create a unity between us since both of us have input on what our family is going to be doing with our money that month. And it gives us both ownership over the budget. It's the same thing with you and your assistant coach. Both of you may have different perspectives on what you need to work on that day during practice. And it will benefit both you and your team if both coaches have input on your schedule, and your communication will only improve because of it, which is an added benefit. Tip number 3 for running an efficient practice is allocation. Determining which skills to work that day and how much time you need to spend on each will obviously vary based on where you are in your season, which skill section needs to be worked the most, and how hard you worked your athletes the previous practice. If you practice every day, for example, and you worked a certain skill extremely hard the day before, you may want to give your athletes the day off from that skill to recover physically and mentally. For example, if you worked your pyramid for the majority of the practice the day before, maybe you can scale that back around 60 or 70% from the length of time you did your last practice. You can still get the reps in, but just enough to refresh the lessons from the day before. One big thing that I learned in my later years is that I needed to allocate more time to non-building and non-tumbling skills of the routine. Depending on your scoring rubric, your jumps, dance, and cheer may be worth just as many points as stunts, pyramid, and tumbling. So shouldn't you spend as much time on those that you do on the bigger skill sections? I would make sure to work each section during practice, but the time that you allocate to each one will depend on what is needed most at that time. Tip number 4 is to be adaptable. I had a very good friend and a mentor of mine teach me this years ago. Plan on contingencies. You can have the best practice script written out, but there will always be something that comes up at practice that will require you to adjust your whole schedule just a little bit. So you need to be able to adjust on the go and get back to the script as soon as you can. If that happens, give yourself some grace. Now, one thing I will advise you on this is don't use this as an excuse to spend more time on a skill just because you think they need more work on it. On a side note, one very important life skill that this can do is teach your team time management skills through practice. Knowing that they only have a certain amount of time allotted for their pyramid, for example, if they waste their time by talking and not taking it seriously, they will start feeling like they aren't ready. And then you can use this as a teachable moment. Remember, we're coaching more than just cheerleading, and this will be a great chance to teach this valuable life lesson that can serve them in their future. Tip number 5 is to be disciplined. This plays off being adaptable. You can be adaptable only if you're disciplined with your schedule. The whole reason to make a practice script is to plan your practice to the detail. If you aren't going to stick with it, there's no need to take the time to write it out in the first place. You can adjust on the fly if you absolutely have to, but do your best to stick to it. This is another lesson that you can teach your athletes. It will take discipline with their own schedules to show results that they're looking for. Plus, you'll be able to accomplish everything that you wanted to accomplish before practice started. You'll feel better about the day, and they will too, especially if you communicate your plan for the day with them, which isn't a bad idea anyway. That will give them an idea of what to expect, and when they accomplish their goals for the day, everyone will leave with a sense of accomplishment. And if they don't, it will teach them what they need to do at your next practice. When they don't get through everything that was planned, they will take ownership of the missed opportunity, and they'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. Finally, tip number 6 is to invite your team leaders to give their feedback on the daily schedule. Now look, obviously as their coach and leader, you have the final say here, but inviting your team members to give their input will allow them to take more ownership of practice, and they will be able to help you on the floor, keeping their teammates focused on the tasks at hand. I would do this more and more with my older teams. It will help you keep your finger on the pulse of the team because you're getting direct feedback for 1 or 2 of your athletes every day. And having that communication with them will help them understand the process more, like why you do what you do and why it's important. It will also empower them to communicate that with their team. It keeps everyone on the same page, and that's something that can really take your team to the next level. So to recap, our 6 tips for running an efficient practice is prepare the plan, share the plan with your assistant coach or coaches, and get their input. Be sure to allocate time effectively to every skill on the score sheet. Be able to adapt during practice if things need to be given more time or even cut short. Be disciplined. Have confidence in your plan and stick to it. And finally, invite your team leaders to give their input as well. Empower them to have a say in the practice plan, and they will want to push their teammates to get more accomplished. So there you have it, guys. Running an efficient practice isn't rocket science, but there is some work that needs to be done to make it happen. The more efficient your practices are, the quicker your team will hit their desired goals in the time they set. When they feel accomplished, their confidence grows, and they will perform better on the mat because of that. So my question is for you, what would you add to the list? What other tips can we add that will help coaches across the world? Let us know in the comments, and let's help each other get better. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Our mission here at CCA is to provide every cheerleading coach in the world the resources to build their confidence and keep their athletes safe on and off the mat. And the more eyes that we can get in front of, that will go a long way in helping us do that. So if this has served you in any way, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with all of your coach friends so that we can create a community of positive encouragement and support for each other. So until next week, remember, legacy outlasts applause. So go impact someone's life in a positive way, and I'll see you next week.